obviously it's one of those things, business, where you can only control what you can control. And, the
Yeah.
things outside of that, if you place too much stress on them, you just end up, suffering in other areas. So, what I can control, I've achieved, I've got it done. Just on to the next goals when we get there.
Righty, we've got Coach Macka from DBL Gym, sorry, here, and we're doing a second episode of the High Performance Management Podcast. Thanks for coming on, Macka. How you been?
Yeah, cheers for having me, mate. Appreciate the invite. Looking forward to chatting over the next hour or so on, help people reach that high performance, I guess.
That's it. That's it. So I normally start with what you're working with at the moment. I know you're running DBL Gym. Suppose we'll start there because I think it represents you a little bit there. So how did you come up with the name? And what does it
Yes,
stand
actually,
for?
my business partner came up with a name. So DBL Gym, it stands for Don't Be Lazy. Basically, the idea of the format is like we're there, as in like myself and my staff, we're there. We'll provide you absolutely everything you need, from nutrition down to mindset coaching, down to training, everything that you need to get healthy. All you got to do is don't be lazy. So that's sort of where that came in. And yeah, just give everybody the building blocks to succeed, I guess, is the plan of it all. So, and hopefully scale that to as many people as possible.
That's it. No, I love it. And it's a hard thing at the moment. We've got a lot of distractions in life, and it's quite easy to take the easy path or the path of least resistance. So yeah, that's awesome, mate. And so like tell us a bit about, how did you start? How did you get to where you are now, running a gym, impacting lives, doing, ultra marathons, long distance running, that it's you're doing some pretty amazing stuff out there. So, what's that starting point? Like, did you always see yourself in this position, or is this something you've worked towards? I suppose just start out, from the beginning.
Yeah, I guess from the beginning, mate. So I grew up always wanting to be a pro athlete. I wanted to play soccer. So I started when I was probably 8 years old. And, always just pushing or, working as hard as I could to, achieve as much as possible. So that eventually led into like receiving a athletic scholarship to go play soccer in the States and, get my college degree over there. So I chose exercise science to get my bachelor's in that, basically just to support what I was already doing. If I was learning about how to become the best athlete while already trying to become the best athlete, I could basically be my own little science experiment there. And then with that, then translate on to other people. So it was actually a long time before I started personal training as such. I eventually graduated. I tried to go pro. I sort of missed out on, getting a contract. And at that stage of my life, it was like, I've worked my absolute ass off for 4 years. Unfortunately, wasn't quite good enough. That's okay. But, what are we going to do now? And do I, keep pushing for this, or do I get some new goals? So I'd always done running in the background as a bit of, fitness and, to keep that discipline. My strength on the field was actually that, I was harder working than everyone else. I wasn't necessarily any better than anyone else. So yeah, I just sort of lent into that a little bit more when I got home. I got a position managing and Anytime Fitness. So, I had everything at my disposal. I had that time that I could spend in the gym. I was already doing a sort of rewarding career and then just doing running on the side. And then eventually when COVID hit, obviously gyms got shut down, and I'm not a sort of person who can, sit on idle for a little while. So we're like, oh, look, we're going to be shut for X amount of time. I've got to figure out something that I can do. So that's when I probably took a step further with the running and like, look, all right, I've got all this free time. Let's try and push this running further again. I've still got gym access because I could, I had to go and work there still, even though it was shut, I had things to do. So I had the gym access. I could program my own running. Again, it was a time to be my own science experiment and start pushing where I could go. And then with that, I used the time to create my business, which was originally M Burgoyne Training, just providing online personal training, which eventually led into the opportunity to open DBL Gym with my business partner, a guy who I'd already done a few things with in Applecross. He's a successful guy, has a number of different things going on at his end. And yeah, he had a bit of a concept. He had the space, relatively set up, and was like, give me 12 months, see what you can do with this place. And I just went, look, I've already got these ideas. This is what I wanted to do. I didn't have capital to do it. This is how I wanted to do it. This is how I'm going to do it. And he was basically just like, here's the reins, go for it. I trust you. And so far, so good. So we're coming up on a year being open now. It's a hybrid model of that. Like I said, online personal training with gym access. We have clients that go in there, and then just trying to become the best runner I can be to inspire other people to pursue running if they can. If they don't want to pursue that, we've got other coaches that do different things, and they can come into that sort of framework as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I can see that the journey you're on as well. Like I've been following you along as well, and it's been awesome to see be open for a year now. So congratulations with that, and I'm sure the lives that you're impacting is, I see you help people lose 5 kilos or more, and that's especially now with COVID, everyone's indoors and not exercising. We really need like a good leader in that space. So yeah, that's awesome that he's impacting people in that way. There's a few things you mentioned that like stick out to me from a mindset point of view that I don't, you kind of, it seemed like you just brushed past it, but when you're going through your college days and even, from age 8, always wanting to be the best, you can be, like, I have to say that's not the average thing to be, like most people kind of just accept, oh, this is it. Yeah, I'll just put in this amount. Like where did you find that kind of hunger, that drive and ambition to always, want to improve? Like, why not just stay the same? Like, why not just do what everyone else is doing?
I think I just had really good role models around me, and that distilled into me, like from my parents, like both of them incredibly hardworking. They've always, provided for us absolutely everything we needed. Just with that, continually pushing that message of, we can be whatever we want to be. So I talk about all the things that I have done, but there was a whole lot of shit that for me personally, I was like, I don't feel like I need to be good at English, for example. I failed English. I'm like, I really don't give a shit. It dumped my ATAR, all this stuff. So it's not all been, perfect, but the things that I cared about, the things that I actually wanted to do, I had that instilled in me that, if that's what you want to do, just be the best at it. And then my family have all been, really involved with community as well. So my whole life, my whole family have been in like firefighting and in local government council and stuff like that. So that's where the helping other people came into that. So it's, be the best that I can be in order to be the best at helping people around me was sort of what's been instilled in me in a young age. I just sort of hit the ground running with that. And like, look, I don't want to be normal. These are the things that I want to do. Yeah, if I can be the best I can be at those things and help people along the way, that's going to be incredibly rewarding, and it has been so far. So as much as it's difficult, it's incredibly rewarding and self-motivating along the way, I think.
Yeah, no, bang on with that. Like, if you want to be, more than the average, you got to do what the average is not doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And so obviously it's extending to other areas now. You're running, you're doing these long distance events, ultras, like that's crazy stuff. Like I can't even comprehend. You did the Bibbleman, which is what, 3 weeks straight of
so that was 1,000K. Over 3 weeks and some other things. And that's not even like how I say, like I just do what I want to do. Like the main goal again is just impacting as many people as possible. And it was actually on the bib where I realized like this trip is getting so much attention because people recognize walking 1,000 kilometers is insane, or doing it for 3 weeks.
No small feat, mate. Like
exactly. And for me, my priority up to that point was I'll just get as fast as possible at running, but that really only inspires other runners to get faster. Whereas choosing something out of the ordinary like that, doing the Billman or doing the ultra marathon I did at the start of the year which was 150 Ks, like anybody can see that and be inspired. And that's what sort of pushed further into those things, even though it might not necessarily be exactly what I want to do. This is the path of least resistance for me to impact the most people, I guess.
Yeah. And look, it totally is. Like I was sitting on there, like watching you doing 1,000 Ks, like what? I'm like, I come home, it's on the weekend. I'm like, no way, he's still going. Like I genuinely didn't know how long it was going to take to do 1,000 Ks. So yeah, that was crazy. And what was the latest ultra that you did? Was that the Herdy one around Herds?
Yeah, so I did Herdies. So that's it's 4 miles every hour on the hour, so 6.7 Ks. Managed, the goal was to do 30 hours, ended up getting like a bit of a hip flexor injury, unfortunately. So I did 22 laps, 147 Ks in the end over the 22 hours, which a whole nother ball game. Again, not what I enjoy. I didn't actually have fun doing it, but it inspired so many people. So it was a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, no, it like that's unreal. Again, like just it's cool to see that mindset transition to other areas, and no doubt it's the reason why you've been consistent with your posting as well, and opening the gym. And what would you say, it's been quite successful now? Like you're taking on new clients and things like that with DBL.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Yeah,
So like so far, all the goals that I've outlined for the gym are coming along. They may not happen exactly on the day that I want them to, but slow and steady, it gets there. Obviously, it's one of those things, business, where you can only control what you can control, and the
yeah,
things outside of that, if you place too much stress on them, you just end up suffering in other areas. So what I can control, I've achieved, I've got it done. Just on to the next goals when we get there.
yeah, man. No, that's awesome. And again, helps with that long-term vision, hey, impacting as many people, through your business, through your long distance endeavors. That's, yeah, totally get it. I want to dive into the how you were in those times of the long distance events. Like, were there times you're wanting to give up? Like, what was that breakthrough moment of you kept going? Like, I know maybe if we focus on the ultra or whatever, what was harder? Was it the 1,000 Ks or the doing it in that 22-hour period? What did you personally find was like the
Um,
biggest struggle?
I would say the bib was harder in points, just because it was such a long ordeal. With the Herdies, obviously, I planned for 30 hours. I got to about 20 very comfortably, and then the hip flexor went. So it was only 2 hours of really like pushing myself like that. Prior to that, I was nailing it. I was doing everything that I'd done like perfectly to plan. So it was all going well. And then it just went downhill really fast. Whereas on the bib, it was completely different, where like almost the first week, like the entirety of that first week was very difficult,
Yeah,
and that's a lot longer time to have to deal with those, pushing yourself forward, trying to do positive self-talk, or something to push you along for days on end versus minutes or hours is, yeah, a completely different ball game. But luckily, once we passed that first week, things got significantly easier.
yeah. You reckon you just got used to it, like, or you developed like a toughness, or did you have like a routine you're going through?
Yeah, well, we've done a lot of practice in the lead up. So just sort of those final things in that first week that happened, recognizing that we probably weren't carrying enough food, for example. So we were under consuming calories and just exhausted. Maybe we were carrying too much equipment that we didn't need. So after that first week, we had a chance to drop a bunch of it off. Just sort of was learning on the fly and trying to adapt and figure those, do those problem solving as we go, was really helpful on that. But yeah, just having somebody else there at that whole time and having that mission of that greater impact and trying to inspire people, and not the feeling of letting people down because I'm doing it for myself, but
Yeah,
having that thing, having a partner on the bib track, like, look, Cam's still in front of me regardless of whether I want to quit or not. I got to catch up to him first, so you just
yeah,
keep putting one in front of the other. And with Herdy's, just having myself set that big goal for myself. And like I said, I felt amazing up until hour 20. So just the fact that it went downhill so fast, and having my family there to be like, nah, look, you said you were going to do this, now you've got to do it. And,
yeah,
just put that in perspective again, and head out for one more was definitely attributed more so to the people around me, even though, I like to think I'm mentally tough. There's always those moments where you need to lean on those around you. And I think that's what's important, of having a strong support network of inspiring people.
yeah. Far out. Like, so you actually injured yourself and kept going.
Yeah, bro. So
All right.
I think it was day 6 or 7 on the track. Like, was just cooked. My ankle was like blown up. And yeah, we just sort of had to push through, and eventually that just, it solved itself. I was doing some exercises, I was strapping it up. Eventually it solved itself. Whereas, yeah, on Herdy's it was I just got up. I had no time to fix it. Just the injury came on, and I pushed through the lap. I just made it out in time, and
All right.
you've got to start that next lap on the hour again. So I sat down. I said, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm cooked. I'm injured. This just not going to work. And they were like, no, look, you're getting out there. You're starting it, and if you don't finish it, that's okay. So I got one more in, and then the next one, yeah, I unfortunately couldn't finish. But yeah, that was definitely not my choice. They were like, you're going again. And I really thank them for that, because that's what I
Yeah.
asked them to do.
That's awesome. Like, and you've highlighted heaps of key points here. You know, having a strong support network, people around you, like that's, I think, quintessential to success. You know, you can be Lord of the Flies otherwise, and just, you know, you can
Yeah.
be the best out of every, you know, person, but you're never ultimately going to grow. Like you're saying, having Cam in front of you even propelled you forward, gave you that extra, you know, that extra boost to, you know, achieve the goal. Keeping that goal in mind as well is kind of, you can say, analogous to having Cam in front of you or your support network. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's crazy. And so with, like, what did you find, like, yourself go through like a transcendental moment or whatever when you finish? Like, did you find yourself having some like learnings from doing these massive events, like moments where you thought you weren't going to be able to push through and you ended up pushing through? Like, have you seen that transition into your own life now, like since doing them?
Yeah, I think so. I think indirectly, because I know that, I've always known that I'm capable of more than, I might let myself do sometimes. And those were two, yeah, really big experiences of that. Because, like I said, I had Cam in front of me to push me along on the bib track, and finding out later that, the only reason he was able to keep going was the exact same thing. He's like, look, Macka's in front of me, I've got to do it. And just recognizing, like, look, if I think I'm strong and these weak points happen, and I can't, kick myself while I'm down, because everyone, no matter how strong, they go through those, and it's about the way you push through and get out the other side. Yeah, I think, yeah, not quite sure where I was going with that, to be honest.
No, I
uh,
mean, it's true. Like, you ultimately just got to keep going, because like we were mentioning earlier, you know, the stuff will just come up in life, and it's, if the goal is important enough, the how doesn't really matter. It works itself out. So as long as you got that strong
exactly.
why, yeah, like you definitely push through. I think that's like part of my mission as well, is to help people understand that it's actually, you know, you find your values in life, find your purpose in life, and staying consistent will work itself out. You're consistent when you're doing things you absolutely love, and you're fulfilling that highest value and purpose of your life. That, I think that's it works itself out. And I think so many people, we get stuck living in what we think we should be doing, what other people want us to be doing, or what we think we need to be doing. And that's what gives you burnout. That's what, you know, ultimately every single time you're feeling burnt out, it's just because you're not really living within your highest values. You weren't fulfilling something meaningful in your life, and you know, your subconscious is trying to force you to reevaluate. Like, every time I go through depressive episodes, it's like I'm looking at what I'm doing wrong. And now
Yeah.
I've got this idea that, oh, depression is, it's not that actually that bad. It's actually my subconscious telling me to reevaluate what I'm doing because something's not working. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's an
think,
important mind shift to go
yeah,
through, I guess. Yeah.
it's so important. So yeah, dude, that's massive. You know, learnings. I can imagine going through all of that. What's next? What do you got next on the radar? You got a few other like ultras? Are you looking at your marathon running? Like, what's kind of the, in your fitness anyway? What's kind of the next few goals?
Yeah, so fitness side of things, I've just got this amazing opportunity at the moment. Like the crew that I'm running with, we've got like the 5K national champion, Matt Ramsden, who's, yeah, like basically coaching the rest of us. There's some insane high level athletes, and for me, that's like, all right, this is the best opportunity I'll ever have at becoming the best I can be. Like, I'm doing exactly what these guys are doing, and they are the best. So yeah, just trying to, get my half marathon and my marathon down to, like elite sort of levels. So the marathon is the big one this year, to go, close to or under 2 hours 35, which is, yeah, just out of my imagination up until this point where, I'm being told, no, you can do that. I'm like, okay, let's do it then. Let's give it a go. So that's the big marathon goal. And then a month after that, myself and Sam Shepard, another guy who, he's pursuing his own things with music, with fitness. We're going to go for the Cape to Cape record down south. So obviously we did the Bibbulmun track. I've done the Cape to Cape already. But yeah, I want to, eventually get the bib track record. I want to get the Cape to Cape records. So yeah, we're going to have a crack at that in November, which is 135K. The unsupported record is 18 hours. Very confident that we can smash that. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And then from there, just really depends on how those two girls go as to what comes next.
Yeah, no, it starts with the belief though. Like, I can hear it in your voice. You're certain, you know, you're confident that you're going to be able to do that. And I think that's like such a key component in achieving really anything if you don't believe you can do it, your actions are going to, to match that. Like you were
Absolutely.
saying, yeah, and you probably see it all the time as well in your weight loss journeys, helping out clients. Like maybe we should touch on that. Is that like something you've seen? Like, what's kind of the biggest key things you've seen with helping people, achieve their goals? Because doing it for yourself is one thing, but like genuinely impacting people to like actually set a goal and keep them accountable, and as you guys do, don't be lazy and actually achieve it. Like, what were some of those key things that you see? Because obviously you're getting results for people, right? Like, so there's something. What's that kind of key thing you've seen?
I think the key is like belief in what you're doing. Like for myself, like obviously I've got a degree, I'm educated in this sphere, I know how to get from A to B, but communicating that and helping the client understand and believe in the system. It's easy to sell somebody on a result, but unless they actually do the work, they're not going to get that result. So you need to create that belief at their end of, look, this is how you do it. I'm telling you it is. You need to trust me and understand that these steps I'm giving you each week will get you from A to B. It may not be at the speed you want it to, maybe harder, maybe easier than you believe it should be. Whatever that is, this is how you do it. I'm going to make it as easy for you as possible. You've just got to believe in me and get the work done, and don't be lazy, of course. And then, with that belief as well, then it becomes the discipline. So if they believe in the system, they believe in, the result they're going to achieve, are they going to remain disciplined on that journey? And that's, probably the bigger part, is holding these people accountable to what they said that they were going to do. Because myself, even in those audacious goals that I've got, it's always been someone there who's, helped push me along the way. And I need to be that person for others.
Yeah, that's also definitely like a duality, you give and take. It goes in everywhere. You give to people and take from others, and get from others and give to others. So yeah, that's awesome, man. And I suppose you touched on discipline. I think there's a lot of people that like I come into contact with as well that like want to know how they can foster discipline. Like, obviously you've gotten to a point where I'd say I could be wrong, or maybe you're not as consistent as I think, but I think you are. Like, how often are you running at the moment? Like, and what's kind of what's the journey been like in terms of forming that habit? Like, have you got any insights to other people wanting to get into it? Or maybe if we just generalize it and take discipline or habit building to other areas as well?
I guess, like as a general rule of thumb, the first thing I always get people to do is just goal setting. Once you've got, again, you've got that big why, that greater purpose of what you're doing, it does become a little bit easier. You set that end goal, you work backwards from there. Okay, what are the things I need to do along the way to, say, the 240 marathon? All right, I probably need to run at least an hour 20 half marathon between now and then. So can I do that? Yeah. Okay. So how am I going to do that half of the bigger goal? Okay, with these baby steps. And then it's like, okay, now I've got my week by week plan. How often am I going to nail this week by week plan? 100% may not be realistic for everybody, but can 90% of the time I get out and get a run and do exactly what I plan to do? Yeah, I think I can make that commitment to myself. And then it's moving forward from there and remaining disciplined with the boundaries you've set within yourself that are going to get you to those shorter milestones in place of that bigger goal, I guess.
Yeah. So you say starting with that goal is the key point, and then the
Yeah,
discipline will follow. And what about like, if, because I know I've done it myself, you set these goals and sometimes life just happens. Like, what is there a time in your life where you've kind of like, what's a moment you've pulled yourself back out of being undisciplined, of almost? Because I feel like you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. So what's the time in your
yeah.
life that you've kind of dropped the ball, and like, how did you bring it back?
I think something we were touching earlier on is just that being emotionally okay with one thing slipping. If you're doing multiple things, like that's the thing that actually helps me, is having multiple things on the board. Because if one thing isn't going to plan, like maybe I get injured for running, for example, that's all of those goals out the window, and all
Yeah.
that discipline that I've built out the window. But is there other things I'm doing at the moment that I can lift and perform better in? Absolutely. And maybe
Mm.
that takes a toll on the others as well. Like as I get further into this marathon prep, my discipline with the marathon is probably going to be great, but is the discipline in my other areas probably going to go down? Yeah. And it's just about, managing, your own emotional expectations of those and not letting them get in the way. Like, for example, this last 6 months of running the business, training, doing social media, all these things, like in my own outside looking in, I am ticking all those goals. But, at home, like, am I getting the dishes done before I go to bed? Nah.
Yeah.
Am I like, getting all my washing done and shit? Like, those sort of smaller things might fall by the wayside, but it's like, all right, am I okay with these things slipping in pursuit of this higher purpose? Yes. Can I remain disciplined to those things that are going to get me closer to that end goal faster? And then this discipline doesn't need to last as long. I guess that's just like a reward and something to put on the table. But yeah, like I feel like once you do have that big goal and the smaller milestones and the plan associated, it is up to, just you and, doing the bare minimum that you've outlined yourself each day. And like I said, if those other things fall by the wayside, in the meantime, being okay with that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very, like, one of the most important things I've learned as well is emotional regulation. Like it's like not reacting to your own emotions, because like you said, like you can drop something, but it's how you react to the dropping. You could freak out and like imagine you're like spinning all these plates on the sticks like the clowns, right? and you drop one. You could freak out and like throw everything else off. And it comes down to that emotional regulation. And I think you've mentioned it a few times. I assume you're quite proficient at positive self-talk and things like that. How did you get into that? Like, how did you become conscious of your own thoughts? And, we'll probably get a bit spiritual here, but like, when did you start to, become aware that you can actually hear your thoughts and control your thoughts? Because that's I think, from my experience being around lots of other business owners and successful people, they're very good at controlling their inner thoughts. And a lot of people, I remember my journey into this, I didn't even know like you could control thoughts at first. I was like, what? Like, what are they? What are thoughts? Like, is it me? Is it someone else? Like, and then really it's you're reacting to the thoughts is what actually dictates your behaviors and actions. So like, what's your journey along that?
I guess, just prior to moving to the States for the soccer scholarship, I got, like, recommended by like a guy on my team, like, to watch the movie The Secret. It's like a film on like, the law of attraction, kind of like cheesy. But, if you watch through it, like, the message is, well and truly there. Like, if you believe in something, you can achieve it. And, your thoughts, but you can think them into existence, I guess, as long as you're actually doing the work. It's not about putting a picture of a nice car on the wall and the car just comes. It's looking at that picture of that car every day and thinking, okay, what do I do to get the car? Do I really believe that I can get the car? And then thinking those positive thoughts along the way that eventually, you end up with the car as a sort of indirect reward of, the actual work that you had to put in to do it. And along with like, that secret, like the law of attraction and doing that, I've had some really good mentors along the way. When I was doing my exercise science degree, I was, just thinking, all right, if I can, manage to understand the human body and how to make that the most effective, is that really the end pursuit? Or is it about understanding the person that I'm trying to train and recognizing that, this one size fits all doesn't work for everybody, and how can I influence them mentally to be able to actually, achieve these results thereafter? So I did a sports psych degree with that. I had an incredible psychology professor over in the States. He's absolutely game changer. Some of the things he taught, and it wasn't really like this is the answer. It's just he developed that critical thinking in me, and then I pursued things on my own. So I'm like, all right, what's going to work for me? Positive self-talk's always been a massive one. Visualization practices always been a massive one. And then thinking, all right, these are practices of sports psychology and psychology that also relate to the law of attraction. Maybe there's a link here, and maybe it is, the secret is, just believing in yourself, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's like mind blown. It's very true. Like especially like having mentors, like you've mentioned so many things right now that we can go down, but mentors like the sports psychologist teacher, like you mentioned critical thinking and things like that. Like what's like kind of like the first thing you started noticing when you started like, oh, okay, well, I'll give this go, or I'll start visualizing something? Like, what was kind of the practice? Like, did you write the goal and then like sit there? Like, did you spend time like visualizing, or is it like, how does that work?
I think like it's hard to like have a measure of, like, oh, I started doing this and this was the result. It becomes more so like your personality, and then with that, good things just start happening. Like I've been incredibly lucky in all of these pursuits. Like how I say, I'm working with pro athletes and stuff now. It's like I just met a guy who in the running store, and he ran and I ran, so we started talking about running. And turns out, like I find out he's a pro athlete, and then just things keep happening and snowballing into the fact that like now we're training together multiple times a week, and it's just that belief in myself that like if I work with these guys, I'll get better. So why don't I just start getting as good as I can so I can work with these guys sooner and then get better, and then everything happens quicker.
Yeah, no, that's like working with, like, it's almost like you attract those people, but you also it's because of the goal that you see it. Like in my coaching, I call that, it's called your reticular activating system. I don't know if you've probably heard of it, but it's essentially how your brain filters the world, because if we paid attention to everything, you'd get just bombarded by sensory information. How would we operate? And like essentially that's what the secret touches on is, like once you got these goals in your mind and you're visualizing it, your brain will literally focus on that. It's like if you focus on all the negatives, you're going to look at them, you'll find it. It's like what we were saying before, whether you believe it or you don't, you're right. It's like you start seeing your favorite car everywhere because you're thinking about it, and the repetition of thinking about it will show it. So that's super cool, man. Like, so you've had these goals and you started meeting these people, and you started taking all this info from the right people, and you got into the right places, and there's totally luck to it. But I feel like you create your own luck, right? Like, you like you said,
absolutely. I think if I wasn't in that mindset already, I wouldn't have seen those opportunities as opportunities. I would have just, been like, oh, cool, nice to meet you, catch you later, to any of those people that have helped me along the way. But it's been, the opportunity that's come along, or even just trying to display that, like how I speak about my business partner now. Like he owned a pub, I went in for beers. He's like, oh, wow, you're probably the most polite person I've ever met. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just, being, who I am. And it turns out 2 years later, that was a great contact to make. We're in business together. I got the opportunity to do this thing indirectly 2 years ago after meeting this guy and just being polite, because that's what I feel like the world needs. You want to be nice to people, and I'm trying to have those positive vibes and give those out to people, and then eventually it goes full circle.
Yeah, no, that's like I think people that aren't in business maybe won't resonate with this, but myself, I've been in business raising capital and things like that. Like, that's actually a really big feat. It's not actually easy to pitch yourself, is it's essentially what you're doing. Pitch yourself to someone in that way. And then, having later on down the track, your ideas and communicating those ideas to someone like you did with DBL Gym, like that's actually a very big thing. Like, and you wouldn't have had that confidence unless you had those goals, right? Like how was that opportunity? Like how did you take advantage of that? Like when, he had the finances or whatever, like, and you pitched it at that idea, like, how did you go about
that? It was honestly a very tumultuous time in my life, to be honest. Because again, it's just that luck that comes along when you're working hard for so long, and this opportunity sort of just fell in my lap, and then so did another one. So I kind of tried to take on too much at the same time. Again, like I spoke about before, if you're doing too many things, one's going to slip. Eventually, one of them did slip, and I felt like my life was going downhill pretty quickly at that point. Like, we went through some difficult times, but it was those difficult times that again forced me to work hard, forced me to reconfigure like my mindset and be like, all right, I do have this idea. I presented it to my business partner. I'm like, look, I understand that this is what you've been doing and this has been working for you, but we're not the same person. I know that I can do this better than anybody, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to do it. And all you've got to do is trust me, and like the reward will come, because I have full confidence in myself. And from that, obviously it's worked. And even in saying that at the time, I'm like, I know it's going to work and all that. I don't know that. Like, you never really know. But having that incredible self-belief and just recognizing that, all right, the belief is one thing, but are you doing the work? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes. How hard can you push to that red line without burning out for as long as possible to achieve the result that you want to achieve? And that's, eventually sort of what happened.
Dude,
it's
that's
going well
actually
now.
crazy because like congrats. That's not a easy thing to do. Like I've sat with investors, several $1 million net worth, even just anyone kind of bigger than you. It's you can't help but feel like, oh man, I got to make sure like I do this right. So like the fact that you backed yourself and also communicated that you are backing yourself, like that's another thing. Like you can say it, oh yeah, I want to do this idea, but they can see if you're bullshitting yourself or not.
Yeah,
And like especially
it was.
speaking of business owners, like yeah, that's a
Yeah,
massive feat, man. Like I don't think the average person will go and do that. So obviously you built up to this point, and like that's great. Like I'm excited to see how you go with expanding as well. Like you've got that to you, which is awesome.
yeah, cheers, bro. Yeah, I think that was the big thing, like the recognition that, look, I don't really feel like I belong at this table right now, but I'm here. So these guys feel like I belong. Just borrow that belief in myself. Like maybe I don't believe in myself as much as I say I do, but these guys, they've invited me in. They want me to do this job. I've got this other opportunity as well, or this other one, like, the running thing, for example. Like, I'm not in these groups by accident. They recognize I work hard. And even though I don't recognize it, I have this imposter syndrome of like, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just doing it every day and trying to get better every day. You could do it too. You can go on YouTube, you can learn what you want, you can read books, you can learn what you need to learn. But are you going to, get those reps in or not? And those people saw that in me. I didn't quite see it in myself at the time, but it was just a moment where I was like, look, yep, they believe in me. I've just got to back myself in and know that I can do this way better, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's again just all comes back to that big vision, right? Like you got to have that vision that's exciting and wakes you up and makes you want to take over that fear, because like you got to have courage. I think success is courage actually, rather than not being scared to fail. Like you just got to, it's courageous. Like it's risky, but it's also risky not to pursue your dreams, because
Yeah.
the pain of regret is in my opinion anyway, could be wrong, it is worse than not trying. Like that's the real risk, and I feel like that's the problem as well at the moment with society, is we kind of get told, oh, don't invest in this, don't do these courses. Like I've spent over 15 grand on personal development courses, and like how many people have told me when I was first starting, oh, it's a scam, like why are you going, like you're
Yeah.
not going to become successful. But it's the fact of like backing yourself and like putting yourself out there to like go and do something, which is like yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Right, cool. So pretty much now that we've gone over the importance of goals, having a big vision, being around the right people, having mentors, and pushing through when things are a bit scary, what kind of advice would you give to other people who just like yourself at one point had these ideas and was kind of struggling to bring it into reality? Like what's kind of some advice you would give to help those people maybe take the steps in the right direction?
I think like basically there's a few main points. So like getting a strong network was like a massive help for me. So many of the sort of successful people I know, or inspiring people that I know, just reaching out to most people, if they've done something really, or that you find impressive or something, they're proud of their achievements as well. So a simple message that I would send to people is, hey, Corey. Hey, Corey. I really admire what you're doing. I think you've done, a great job at, whatever it is you're pursuing. I'd love to, have a chat with you further about, how you got to where you are now, because I've got these goals that I'm not quite sure how to pursue yet. So having that conversation, it like receiving that message as somebody like, oh, look, this guy, he admires me. He thinks that I've got something to offer. I would love to help him out. Most people who are successful have had someone help them along the way. So they're always really willing to offer that help as well. So step one, yeah, building a network was massive for me. Reaching out, getting those contacts, having a sort of vision board or someone to emulate as well. Like the original one for me, starting as an online personal trainer, was just going, all right, James Smith is now got, 1 million Instagram followers. He seems very much like me. He's got the same personality. He's done exactly this. This is how he did it. Read his books, listen to his podcast. And then I've, tried to at least take, what I feel like I can emulate from that and move forward. And it might not be, just one person. Like, so James Smith is who I looked at for like online PT, and then he's linked up with other people when I've looked at their stuff. And, I've found a lot of different bits of bites of information that I can emulate and, try and pursue those goals. So yeah, like having a sort of like a mentor indirectly, as well as networking to find a mentor directly as well. Two of the biggest benefits for me. And then just recognizing like, it's always going to take time. It's always going to take longer than you expect. So start yesterday. If you can't start yesterday, start today. And that's the quickest way to get there. There's not going to be a perfect time. You're not ever going to be ready. None of those things apply. Just get started and keep trying every day, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's massive advice. Thanks. I'm sure there's going to be someone that takes something from that. I think the one that I did the most was like what you said, modeling. So, my background, I was, depressed little kid, not really doing much, and had big dreams, but didn't really know how to do it. And it was myself holding me back. I had a lot of negative thoughts and, couldn't really believe in myself. So just started the same thing, surrounding myself with, information, other people, getting these other thoughts through me. You don't have to be in the same room as them. We got the internet now, like we're having a conversation literally over the internet, which is crazy. We take advantage of this right now. And I love that saying, do yesterday. It's so true. Because, tomorrow is always that land where everything gets done in your mind. I think that's a massive habit. If you can get into just doing it now, the dishes we mentioned earlier, it's such a simple thing, but lately, man, I swear, I used to be like, I'll just do it a bit later. Now I'm just doing everything now. And I swear it's been the best thing I've been doing lately. Like everything, something stupid, pick up that piece of paper on the floor. Like, Grant Cardone actually mentions it in his book. He's like, you want to take control of your life. You like, people say control is bad, but if you have a bad situation happen to you in your life, do you want to manage the situation, or you want to take control and put it in the direction that you want? And like, it really rang true to me, because like, there's been a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out, like I'll manage it. And it's like just having that like inner talk, or control the situation, take control, move it in the direction you want. It like instills that belief and power in yourself. So yeah, that's huge, man. Like, having that, that network as well, the mentors, that's huge. And going forward now, I feel like you've gotten to like a new level. You've set some goals, you've achieved them. So now you're starting to believe in yourself some more. You're like, fuck, all right, what else can I do? Like, is that kind of where you're at now? Like you're getting like this momentum, you could say?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really only feel like I'm truly getting that self-belief now. Like how I said, I'm like, I told everyone I believed, I knew this was going to work and shit, but yeah, I didn't know. But now it is working. So now I really do have that belief, and I understand that. I guess you can do anything, and you always do need to tell yourself that. But when it actually does start happening and coming to fruition, the things that 2-3 years ago that I said, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, and now that it's happening, it's incredibly rewarding, and just gives me power and momentum to move forward and be like, all right, well, what else can I do? Obviously, I'm not finished this yet, but how can I make sure that this is moving in the path that then sends me on to the next thing I want to do as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose we'll start closing things off now. But like if you were to, there's a few pivotal moments you can look back in your life which have kind of made you where you are now. If there was some times where you almost had a near miss, like what's kind of that advice you'd give back to your old self, where you could have maybe seized an opportunity better or something like that? What do you think was missing in that moment that you have now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I was sort of being destructive with was not giving myself like the path of least resistance. So like I talk about wanting to be a pro athlete and all this stuff. When I was at college, I'd work hard, like I'd train as hard as possible. And I was really just out training my bad habits. I'd go drink on the weekend. I was always pretty good with sleep, but like if you go drink, you're not going to sleep well. And then the next day you end up eating like shit and you can't train. And then all those things lead into the next week's training. And then that whole week of training is really just getting over the weekend. Maybe I take one step forward instead of 5 steps forward across that weekend. Now that I've sort of recognized or, just got a better understanding with myself and how I work, everyone could probably be a genius if they knew how to unlock that inner genius. And that's the sort of thing that I'm still working toward, of creating my ideal life where I can be the most productive. It can be the most rewarding life for me, where it's then self-motivating to take that next step. So yeah, I guess just giving myself the path of least resistance, having regular check-ins with myself, and recognizing if things are going wrong, what am I doing that isn't perfect right now? You know, if I'm waking up cranky tomorrow, what did I do yesterday that affected that? And then when I'm cranky tomorrow, what am I going to do to either get back to baseline, or am I going to do a positive feedback loop where I just go worse and worse? Taking that time to myself, recognizing, all right, this is where it stops. This is how I give myself the path of least resistance. I know myself better than anybody else. And then moving forward with that new plan, I guess.
Yeah, no, you actually mentioned a really important part, which I think it's not like a glamorous thing. So it's not talked about a lot in like personal development, self-help. But like, what do you do to check in with yourself? Like that I feel like that's really important. Like, how do you know if you're even on the right track, right? So like what's something you personally do to check in? Like, is it a time frame? Is it, like, when do you know to even check in with yourself?
Typically, like either when something's going wrong or when there's already a transformative moment happening. So, like the Herdies, for example, like I gave myself, after that ultra marathon, I gave myself a couple of days off work to process what I'd been through, and, do some journaling. Even when we're out on the Billman track, like I'm with Cam, we're like, look, we're self-assessing, but vocalizing that and talking to each other. And that's a transformative experience in itself. And then we're like, okay, look, I recognize that I'm not doing X, Y, Z at the moment because I have this time to think. So yeah, either around transformative things like that, or typically when it gets bad and I'm like, look, what am I doing here? Why is life sucking right now? What am I doing wrong? How do I fix that? And just having that, mental checkbook. So, I've carried a journal around for like years now, ever since I started trying to become better, and just, writing down those thoughts, feelings, emotions, writing down, if I'm about to like enter that intentional period of time where I want to improve on something. Okay, what am I doing at the moment? What are the 3 things that I think are influencing my actions right now? And then having that deep thought and thinking like, okay, what am I doing wrong or right in these? How's this influencing the other thing? And then try to again set a plan and a goal with those things. So like the drinking one, for example, like I recognized the drinking was holding me back. I set my goals for the year and just kept it simple. I wouldn't drink after midnight for the whole of 2021. So I got through that whole year, and not only did I not drink after midnight, but most of the time, if you've ever had a big night out on the town, you've always got that turning point. You're in the bathrooms, you're pretty drunk already. You're like, do I have one more drink or do I go home? And I became the guy who went home, and then that made my life better.
Yeah. No, that's like self-actualization. It's massive. That I can see how invaluable that's been to your life. And to be honest, that's probably the one thing I'm working on the most is I don't really journal. I just think so much. I'm super quick, but yeah, it's for me, it's a habit I'm building myself. And again, you mentioned something before I think I didn't really touch on, but it's super profound, is the fact that everything takes longer than you think. I think that's huge, man. Like that, like even though just hearing you say it, like I think I've thought about it, but just like you're right. Like hearing it from someone else kind of validates that. Like, and I think it gives you a bit of peace of mind as well. Like if you got these goals and you got this massive, grandiose vision, and you're almost like, what the fuck? Like, am I crazy? It's cool. It's cool to think that, like if you do just keep doing it, and it could take longer, like you said, like you're training, you train for 5 years and it still didn't work out. I think that's a really important part, but having that journaling and doing things like that, that's like massive. So your journaling, like when did you start doing that? Or who even, like, where did you get that idea from?
So like side note, like I want to climb all the highest mountains in the world. So I was in Argentina to go climb Aconcagua over there. And while I was there, like I landed, got off the plane, like met the guide and stuff, and they were like, look, sorry to tell you this, but we've just heard from the other people that were meant to be coming on this trip. You know, there's been some issues, so it's just going to be you and your guide on the mountain. And I get paired up with this guide. He's like a old Russian bloke, great guy. But you know, obviously like heavy, thick Russian accent. So, you know, wasn't like super ideal to chat all the time. And I even like asked him, I was like, do you prefer it like this with like a small group? Because it's easier, or do you prefer it with a big group? And like the first thing he's like, I prefer a big group because you'll entertain yourself and leave me alone. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, you don't even want to talk to me at all, do you? So yeah, and that I was like, shit, all right, what am I gonna do? Because it's like 3 weeks, it's like 2 weeks to get up the mountain and then a week to get back. So yeah, I just went down, like I'm trying to speak Spanish. I'm like, le journal, like someone le journal. And like I bought this journal. Yeah, did some like goal setting up on the mountain because I had fuck all else to do. And it was the same thing. I had some other shit going in my life at the moment. I'm doing like pros and cons lists and all this shit, just trying to figure things out because I literally had nothing better to do. But then returning from that and recognizing, you know, I came back and I was on the right foot. I'd been through this transformative experience. That's when I started basically. And then it's probably every, you know, couple months that I'll, you know, intentionally set the time aside to have a, you know, a day where I put the phone down and do that and work through some things. Otherwise, it's just like a constant, you know, repetition. If I have something that pops up, I'm like, oh shit, man, like that, like, you know, you have those epiphanies. But you know, if your thoughts I mean, if your grand ideas aren't written down, they're just thoughts, like passing thoughts in and out one ear and the other. Whereas written down, that's an idea. You can expand off that. You can build off that. And that was that recognition of like, okay, start writing it down. If you don't do anything with it, at least it's there. You will have that thought again because you'll return to this and read it. Whereas, yeah, if you just have the thought and it goes through, you might not never think of it again.
Yeah, no, that's super cool because I think if you like get a bit deeper into it as well, it's like literally transferring something from thought into physical reality. Like it's going
Exactly.
from like, where does it even come from? Who knows? Like, are we in charge of our thoughts? I don't know. But like going from your thoughts into your hand and coordinating in your muscles to, you know, writing onto paper, like that's huge. And what's that saying? It's like your dreams are only dreams until you're writing them down, and that's when they become goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's huge, man. So yeah, that's cool. So you journaling and self-actualization is kind of how you check in with yourself. You know, I think we've got a lot of value actually in this. Even myself, I've learned heaps. So like, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time today and having a chat with me, coming on the podcast. I guess we've already gone over what advice you'd give to other people starting out. Where can people find you? Like Instagram or your gym, even for people listening in Perth? You know, yeah, give us a little insight there. Where can people find you?
Yeah, bro. So yeah, firstly, thanks for having me on, mate. I hope everybody took some value today. Yeah, good to even for myself just get all this stuff, you know, off my chest as well, which is good. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Coach Macka. And then for the gym, it's DBL Gym. And yeah, online services we operate, you know, worldwide at this point. Otherwise, the gym is in Applecross. So if you're local to Applecross, pop on by. Otherwise, check us out on Instagram or Facebook, Coach Macka, DBL Gym.
Sweet. Thanks, Macka. Again, been a great chat. I've learned heaps, and yeah, hopefully everyone's taken, you know, a key takeaway from this, which, you know, can help them move towards their own goals and visions, which is kind of the main thing for my podcast anyway. So yeah, appreciate it, mate. And good luck with all your goals, and we'll keep a check in on seeing how you go with the Cape to Cape and things like that in November. So yeah, that's awesome, mate.
Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for listening, everybody. Chat soon, bro.
See you later.